Chris Henry captains an Ulster side. Still no Stephen Ferris. Declan Fitzpatrick comes into the front row, and Lewis Stevens into the second row for the injured Johan Muller. There's a rare start at full back for Tommy Bowe. Craig Gilroy comes in for his first game after 5 on the bench, and Ruan Pienaar and Paul Marshall are paired at half back. Dragons make just 2 changes following European game against Bayonne, both in the forwards. Adam Jones in the second row alongside fellow Welsh international Rob Sadoli, and Jevon Groves is in the back row for the injured skipper Lewis Evans. Hooker Steve Jones leads the Dragons tonight. They're feeling the same back division, plenty of pace in the forms of Welsh international Tom Priddy, normally a wing, tonight at full-back. Wings Welsh, Will Harris, also Welsh international, and the flying Springbok Tondi Shavanga. Both pace and power in the centre in the form of Samoan Andy Tuolangi.
Perfect conditions for rugby at Rodney Parade. Ulster will have fond memories from their last trip to Wales, where they beat the Cardiff Blues comfortably, and they'll be looking to play that expansive, high-tempo game again this evening.
Well, it's Lewis Roebling who's taken over the mantle of Jason Tovey, who left the Dragons at the end of last season to go to the Cardiff Blues. Andrew Trimble takes straight away, and there is the man doing what he does best, Nick Williams, getting across the gain line. In this case, the 22. Paul Marshall outside his 22, shaving up to kick down the near touchline himself. If that drifts into touch, it's going to be a scrum. It's not well taken by Toby Faletau. Great acceleration off the mark, just getting inside Andrew Trimble. Well won by the Dragons inside the Ulster half. Taken on by second row forward Rob Sadoli, great veteran, 42 times cap for Wales. Jonathan Evans looking for a runner in the form of Tuolangi, one of 6 rugby playing brothers, lost and stolen illegally by Ulster. And the referee, incidentally, from the Munster Society is the vastly experienced Peter Fitzgibbon, and he gives the opening penalty of the evening against Ulster.
They're just ruling that Ian Henderson handling that ball on the ground once affecting the tackle. Looked like he got to his feet pretty quickly and had a go at contesting it, but early option now for the Dragons to go for goal.
Well, Ian Henderson continuing in the back row alongside Nick Williams and Chris Henry, improving with every single game. The young man, that's a long way from the Ulster posts. Hard to see just how the wind is affecting anything at the moment. There might just be a little bit of a breeze. There's Ian Henderson, I think, put a hand in more by hope than malicious intent, I have to say, but he got caught. And this is Tom Priddy, only 20 years of age, 4 times cap for Wales already. The first one he was just 18. Important kick. Has he landed that? Well, that's not too far away. What a belting kick that is, and what a great start by the Dragons. So Ulster make an early mistake. The Dragons punish them. Is that going to be a marker set down for the rest of this game?
Well, the Dragons will certainly hope so. They're coming off a poor run of form. They found it hard to get victories, and certainly taking your opportunities early on in the game, bringing the crowd into it. Good crowd that's turned out on a good evening for rugby bodes well for them in this fixture.
Ruan Pienaar in his 3rd season with Ulster, and starting in the number 10 shirt for only the 5th time. He had 2 last year and 2 the year before. It's not a bad restart kick. The Dragons have gathered it in well inside their own 22. Roebling, not much of an angle to work with, but he's put in a very good touch kick. And again, that's another confident piece of play by the Dragons. This is Lewis Roebling, just 21. Welsh under 20 international, playing his 17th league game this season, or this evening, I should say. Ulster's line out, they've taken Nick Williams out of it. Rory Best with the throw.
2 meters.
Good take at the front, Marshall. Well away to Pienaar. Williams on the charge, and he's dropped that, and that's another Ulster error.
Stay back wide.
Also very close to being offside, taken on by the blindside flanker, Tom Braun. Jonathan Evans. Little glance by the outside half Roebling, and Tommy Bowe keeps it inside. Now that's playing a dangerous game, Tommy Bowe, and off he goes, and he's tackled, and he has to release this. Peter Fitzgibbon having a good look, and Ulster have got men back to help Tommy Bowe. Marshall giving that plenty of height. Trimble is underneath. Good jump by Trimble, terrific take by the Irish international. Here's Best. Oh, well done by Pienaar. Puts boot to ball. And this is going to be a genuine foot race. Craig Gilroy's legging it down the park, and that's chipped into touch, and that might just be an Ulster line out if a Dragon's foot hit that, and I think it did. So from one end of the field to the other, this is going to be a game worth the watching.
A wonderful take by Andrew Trimble to start that off from the box kick by Paul Marshall, and then it was the awareness to be able to offload, and then Pienaar injecting that pace. Rory Best summing up the situation. Turnover ball, you get as wide as soon as possible, and once Pienaar saw that space in behind, too much of a temptation not to put the ball deep into Dragons territory, and a wonderful attacking platform for Ulster now.
It's a wee bit dark in that top corner away from us in our comedy position here, but we'll do our best to bring you the action. Rory Best, well taken by Ian Henderson. Ulster hoping to put on a bit of a drive.
No, it's a move.
There's still about 10 metres to go to the Dragons line. That's good work by the Ulster side. The ball is tucked in to an Ulster chest, and still they go forward. Ball goes to ground. Ulster will have to release this. Lewis Stevenson with the pickup. Bit of support from Declan Fitzpatrick.
No problem.
Referee quite happy that Ulster weren't doing a little bit of illegal blocking in front of the ball carrier. Here goes Williams. Williams still driving. Takes a couple of Dragons to bring him down, and as a Dragon comes in from an offside position, but the referee has given the first penalty against Ulster for coming around A, the wrong side, and B, flopping down on top of the ball. But a good response by Ulster after that early penalty.
Yeah, excellent field position. Last week against Glasgow, the number of turnovers in that area inside opposition 22, I'm sure, was a concern for the coaches. They won't want that pattern continuing tonight.
No, number 3.
A little bit over anxious perhaps, but the ball was well cleared after that good drive by Nick Williams. Because it was a penalty, it's going to be a Dragons throw. This is the oldest man in the park at 35 years of age. We thought Steve Jones was going to retire at the end of last season, but he's still here and he's captaining the Dragons. And again, it's Roebling, puts an educated boot to the ball and makes some decent ground for the Dragons.
Ulster have shown throughout the early season the variety of attack they bring from that set piece that is the line out. They have Nick Williams standing in the middle of the park, and then they've got strike runners like Gilroy, Bowe and Trimble entering from all sorts of angles. Very difficult for the defence to read where that ball is going.
Well, all that is predicated on securing set piece ball, and this is Rory Best again. No Johan Muller, remember, to aim for. Well taken by Stevenson. Pienaar. Darren Cave cuts a good angle and straightens. Marshall, more encouraging. Chris Henry, Ulster's captain. One of 10 Ulstermen named in the Irish squad for the November test. Pienaar nearly got through, makes it available. Quick ball by Ulster. Dan Toohey, another man on the Irish panel. Dragons have slowed it down a little bit, but Ulster still in possession. Andrew Trimble runs into Faletau. Marshall got himself caught, but got himself out of trouble. Tom Court. Patience has to be the watchword here for Ulster. Wide ball now by Marshall. Pienaar, Paddy Wallace, Bowe got it away. Was it forward? Not so, says the referee. Had a look at his touch judge, who decided it was fine. Again, Ulster building up a nice little head of steam. Pienaar, sweet pass. Williams into Faletau. This is one of the head-to-heads, and the ball has been stripped away by the Dragons and by the crafty Nathan Bucket tighthead. And here goes Will Harries, gets away from Paddy Wallace. He's such a sprinter, this Philip. Outstanding sevens player, 4 caps for Wales. Here's Nathan Buck again, the man who won the ball in the first place. This is encouraging stuff by the Dragons. Paddy Wallace gets a shove in the back. Jonathan Evans trying to get the ball back. The referee had a really good look. Jevon Groves, the open side flanker, in possession for the Dragons, who are playing some pretty entertaining rugby. Tuolangi. Well tackled by Ulster. Slow ball coming back, but the Dragons have it. Adam Jones, another veteran of 30 years and more. Referee's given a penalty against Ulster. Somebody hurtled in there and caught Chris Henry in the head. And that's another penalty to the Dragons. And Ulster's error count is picking up where it left off at Scotstoun last weekend.
Some good work by the Dragons in counter-attack. We saw the threat that Will Harries possesses in terms of the pace that he's got. Shavanga on the other wing as well. Ulster won't want to let them get into broken field positions, and Chris Henry will be pretty disappointed when he sees the replay there. Looked like he got to his feet and was contesting the ball. There's Harry's break. Just that pace, gets away on the outside and Ulster managed to flood back that defensive channel to bring him down, but the Dragons looking dangerous when they get that front foot ball.
Well, they are going on the front foot and they are driving forward and they're reaping the rewards because they've got a second penalty, and this is infinitely more kickable than the first, which was managed from halfway. Here's Tom Brady again, little toe poke, same result, 3 more points. We played just over 9 minutes and the Dragons in pole position. Come on Dragons. Well, there's a mixture of English and Welsh, it doesn't really matter. So Dragons 6 and Ulster 0.
And this is a fixture traditionally Ulster have struggled with, and they've struggled because the way the Dragons approach their rugby. When they get that home ground feel about it and they start playing with that sort of intensity, the mistakes come from Ulster, and the Dragons so far have capitalised.
PR straight into the arms of his opposite number, who puts the boot to ball pretty effectively once again, and Ulster have lost themselves about 10 metres from the middle of the field. So it's going to be an Ulster line-out. Nick Williams and Chris Henry this time, both have been taken out of the Ulster line-out, so Rory Best will be throwing into 5 forwards. Compressed line-out with Declan Fitzpatrick at the back of it for Ulster. Well taken by Stevenson. In for Johan Muller, who one hopes may be back for the back-to-back Heineken Cup fixtures against the Northampton Saints. Marshall with another one of those teasing box kicks. Ball comes back on the Dragons side, well driven on by Ian Henderson. But that's good work by the Dragons, who are playing a very good, sensible percentage game. Robbling.
Stand back.
Ruan Pienaar slightly wrong-footed by the awkward bounce of that ball. And again, in the exchange, it's the Dragons who've got the advantage, and they will have the throw into the line-out. 10, almost 11 minutes gone now, 6-0 to the home side.
Yeah, the Dragons just very pragmatic about their way they're going about the game tonight. They're not taking any chances deep in their own territory. They're kicking for field position, and then they're showing that line speed and intensity of defence that causes problems for the attack.
Back on the Dragons side very awkwardly, and also need to capitalise. Now, there was an accidental offside there, which is rather unfortunate, but it is a penalty. A Dragons player touched the ball and it went forward, and the next person to touch it was another Dragons player who was in front of him, and therefore in an offside position, and therefore Ulster get a much needed penalty. Pienaar for a bit of territorial advantage. Not his longest kick in the world, but he's found his touch. Thoughts on the half-back combination, Marshall and Pienaar, for tonight's game?
Yeah, a case of rest and rotation, you feel, with Paddy Jackson having such an excellent start to the season but not wanting to overburden him, and the combination of wanting to give Marshall some game time in that 9 jersey for when Ruan Pienaar disappears, as you expect for the autumn internationals.
Yeah, Pienaar's taken his total of Springbok caps to 60 over the summer. Another good line-up by Ulster, this time by Dan Toohey. Now, Ulster will need to drive forward, but make sure that they don't lose possession as they did the last time. It's a bit much to ask that they can drive 30 metres to the Dragons line, but they're certainly having a go at it. They've made about 10 of those 30 anyway, and they're still going. Ulster driving forward.
7, you've detached and gone back on. It's
Chris
accidental
Henry
offside.
had
You've
actually
detached
detached and
then
then rejoined again, so it was an accidental offside, and Dragons get the put into what will be the first scrum of the evening. Nothing just going right for Ulster, Ryan.
No, you feel that all they need is a little bit of ball security to go through a few patterns and really get a foothold in this game, but unfortunately a combination of system and individual errors have let them down, and they just haven't had the possession to get into the game.
Well, plenty of experience in that Ulster pack, despite no John Afoe and no Johan Muller and no Stephen Ferris, but John Afoe on the bench, Roger Wilson on the bench as well. Be interesting to see how he goes if he comes on for his first Ulster game in over 4 seasons.
Okay. Come on.
Paul Marshall, though, justifiably disappointed about being left out of the Irish squad. I'm pretty sure will be involved in, at the very least, the Wolfhounds game against Fiji and Limerick when it comes up. So we've gone over 13 minutes and we've got the first scrum of the evening.
Touch.
That didn't look altogether straight from Jonathan Evans. Not a bad Dragon scrum. Falatau to Tuolangi. Mustn't be allowed to build up any momentum, and he hasn't been. Good tackle by Paddy Wallace.
Outside.
In fact, it was Ruan Pinar did the tackling. Robbling.
Stand, Black. Stand.
Good position by Tommy Bowe. Whips it inside to Trimble. Darren Cave with Wallace outside him. Cave may opt to kick, and he does. This is a fellow you don't want to give any room to. Shavanga, the flying machine from South Africa. Well set up by the Dragons. Jonathan Evans. Just a little delay on the pass. Taken on by Owen Evans, one of the newcomers to the Dragons squad this season. Robbling thought about the kick, thought about the pass, then went for the kick. Taken by Pinar. That's I was going to say that's just about perfect, but it was only slightly imperfect, and that makes all the difference. Straight into touch. He doesn't play 10 that often. It is asking an awful lot for a guy who's been, established himself as the #1 player in his country to come in and play in a position that he hasn't played for ages.
Yeah, but he's such a talented footballer, you'd expect it to be a fairly seamless transition. Very impressed with the exit strategy of the Dragons. They're not overcomplicating it. Maybe one ruck set up position for their kicker and then clear their own half.
Falatau at the back, cleverly done. Good tackle by Rory Best, and stolen by Best, and Pinar chips it away. Craig Gilroy is legging it down, likewise Pinar. Robbling gets back. Pretty. Outside is 22. Well gathered by Tommy Bowe. Got Nick Williams outside him. Changes the angle. Bowe still going. Makes good ground. Ulster need this quickly. Williams picks up and drives. That's what the Ulster fans want from Williams. Inside to Rory Best. Just delayed the pass quite rightly because he'd been overrun a little bit. Pinar now to Darren Cave. He has Tui with him. Nicely done by Cave. Here's Tui. Needs a bit of support, but Tui's only 2-3 metres away. Ulster have responded in the best fashion. Now Pinar as Tom Court. Pinar has a go himself. Flipped it inside. Court picks up. What a pickup by Court. What a score by the international prop. And the best possible response from Ulster. What hands by Pinar, but for a prop forward, well, Tom Court had all the hands of a conjurer.
Magnificent lead up from Ulster, the turnover, and then going through a number of passage of play. It was the quality of possession. Darren Cave, some clever little work in the outside channel, and when they came back, Ruan Pinar saw the hole, made use of it, and we'll see this offload. Blind offload came off the shoulder, question marks over that, but no question mark over that pickup from Tom Corton over the line.
Well, about 18 odd stones going like a steam train. Had a Dragon been in the way, he would have been impossible to stop. There wasn't a Dragon in the way, and Court knew the way to the line. And in the meantime, Pinar, who set it up, has added the extras, and all of a sudden it's looking a wee bit rosier from an Ulster perspective. 16.5 minutes gone. Dragons 6, Ulster 7. Well, class is permanent. And in the case of Ruan Pinar, the permanency is there.
You just eyes up rugby, seeing that little hole, that little dog leg, overcommitting on the outside channel. That left the little space on the inside. The pass going backwards but coming off the shoulder. Chris Henry celebrating as Tom Court goes over under the post.
Peter Fitzgibbon is just delaying things a little bit. There's been a slight injury to Tom Court. I don't think it's anything too serious. Dr. David Irwin and physio Gareth Robinson came on to administer a little bit of treatment to the try-scoring prop. Well taken by Trimble. Good wristy pass. Here goes Williams. Caught on the 22. The Dragon coming in from the wrong side. Marshall with the foot inside the 22, so he can pass it back. Pinar saw a wee bit of space, perhaps in behind Tom Pretty, who covers it nicely. Read it well, the young fullback. More at home was a wing 3/4. Ulster coming in the side, and that's a third penalty Ulster have conceded this evening. Discipline has got to be maintained. And they decided to go for a shot at goal, and if Tom Pretty lands this one from long range, then the Dragons will be back in the lead again.
Yeah, they'll certainly be satisfied with the opening 17 or so minutes that they've put in. But Ulster have just shown the threat that they have. They've got class throughout, 1 through to 15. And they've just got those strike runners across the park that you know, you look at Ulster and you feel they could score from their own 22. The Dragons, you think, are going to have to work a lot harder to get their points.
Well, he kicked a monster from the halfway line. After just a couple of minutes, 7 minutes later, he got one from just inside the Ulster 22. This is another long one because although it's right on the 10-metre line of Ulster, with the angle, it's about the same distance as the first one. Here he comes. Is that going to carry? It's pretty close. No, he hasn't made that one. So something of a let-off for Ulster. We have still about a minute and a half to go to the end of the first quarter. Ulster leading by 7 points to 6.
Yeah, and Ulster will still feel pretty confident if they can get their hands on the ball, go through their patterns. They know they've got the strike power. It's just been a case of those little errors haven't let them get into any flow in this match.
That's a good kick by Pienaar. That's a good bit of driving play by Adam Hughes, the Dragons centre. Jevon Groves caught and manhandled by Dan Toohey. Jonathan Evans, Adam Jones, Roebling. This could create something here. Pretty steps back inside, well taken by Paddy Wallace. Tries to hold him up. Lewis Stevenson will hold him up. Now this could be interesting, but well won by the 35-year-old Dragons skipper. Stolen by Ulster. Penalty against the Dragons for side entry. Quick tap by Marshall. Dragons weren't 10 metres, so at least Ulster will get the penalty. And all of a sudden it's come within kicking range perhaps of Ruan Pienaar.
Yeah, clever work from Paul Marshall. Not much downside to that. It's out of kicking range. He takes a quick tap, knowing if nothing develops, at worst, the ball's been promoted 10 metres and within range.
Well, you don't like to see that with any player, a bit of a shoulder thing, but when you're a prop forward and you've got autumn internationals coming up, well, Tom Court must be a little bit worried. He certainly won't go off the field unless it's pretty serious. So the decision has been made. It's just over 47 metres for Ruan Pienaar. This to take Ulster into double figures. We've passed the 20-minute mark. His first seriously competitive kick at goal of the season. Just one little back step, and that's not going even close. But from Ulster perspective, it doesn't matter that much because Ulster's still in the lead. 21 minutes gone. Dragons 6, Ulster 7.
Yeah, Ruan Pienaar, some incredible kicks last season at the death to ensure Ulster won matches, and Paddy Jackson's been in superlative form in the kicking department at the start of this season, and Ruan Pienaar now getting an opportunity to get back into that rhythm.
I haven't looked at the stats, but Paddy Jackson with 35 points and 2 Heineken Cup games must be close to the top of the kicking table in that respect. Well taken by Tommy Bowe, hasn't done much wrong in the full-back position. This is Pienaar. Put just about the right amount of weight in that for Trimble to chase, and he does chase. Back to Chris Henry, cleverly done by Andrew Trimble. What an impressive game he's had. Marshall, Darren Cave, needed probably to give that, but he's taken it on. There seemed to be an overlap. Marshall changes his mind. Trimble, nicely done. Craig Gilroy just lost his footing as he made contact with the Dragons defender. Still there for Ulster. Court runs into Falatau. Marshall. Pienaar again. Williams overran that. Was that blocking? Not so. Stevenson had a couple of men inside him, one of them Declan Fitzpatrick. Well, that's good work by Stevenson. Marshall. Darren Cave. That was a bit of blocking. No, said the referee. Play on. Troy didn't like it one little bit, I'm afraid. Ulster managed to set that up, and it wasn't the blocking, it was a knock forward by Ulster. Nick Williams complaining to the touch judge about something, but the Dragons will have the scrummage.
Yeah, once again, Ulster in attack, putting those multiple options on the table in terms of runners. On that occasion, it went through the channel into the wider one, but lots of options available to them. Just need to be a little bit more careful around the ruck time to ensure they're taking the right option, not getting in each other's way.
Second scrum of the evening, and the second scrum to the Dragons. Ulster haven't had a put into the set piece so far. Declan Fitzpatrick on the tight head side has only started one game this season. Once again he's been plagued by injury. Dragons far too early in engage. Even before the referee said set, they were shunting forward. Will Ulster go for the scrummage, or will they go for a little tap penalty? Rory Best has called for the scrummage, and he knows best.
Yeah, unless you can get the ball very quickly and get that quick tap in, which they weren't able to do because the Dragons threw the ball away. Scrum is the only option to condense that defensive pattern, and Rowan Pinar and Paddy Wallace having conversations now about which strike move they're going to employ from the base of the scrum.
Owen Evans on the loose head side for the Dragons against Declan Fitzpatrick, and that scrum goes down rather untidily. Touch judge is only 5 metres away, so he's in the perfect position to decide who's bringing it down.
Okay, listen.
Peter Fitzgibbon's going to have a word with the front rows.
Engage square, head and shoulders up. Square and head and shoulders. Head and shoulders up, bind immediately on engagement. Bind as well, please.
Head and shoulders up, bind immediately on engagement.
Touch, set.
Penalty against the Dragons.
Binding on the arm.
Not binding on the jersey against Nathan Buck, the Dragons tight head prop. Pinar is going for a shot at goal. Right decision?
Well, Chris Henry and Ruan Pinar discussed it. Ruan Pinar, as the kicker you'd expect, would decide whether it's within range, and he's had a sight one from range earlier on, and seems pretty comfortable to have a go for points. Right decision. If they can get this 3, it goes to 10-6. Ulster always good at developing that margin, and as that margin increases, so does their appetite for playing a wider, looser game.
Dragons having a little bit of a discussion among themselves as to what went wrong in the front row. Just off camera, Nick Williams got a little bit of treatment for a cut. He had a bit of a headband on for a while. He's decided to take that off. Pinar, it's quite a tight angle. That looks a lot better, and it's just drifting away yet again. So a second penalty miss for Ruan Pinar, and it stays at the Dragons 6 and Ulster 7. And obviously with Paddy Jackson in such a rich vein of kicking form, maybe his arrival might be a bit earlier than anticipated, but certainly the way Pinar and Marshall are playing in general terms, they'll leave things the way they are. Back to Tommy Bowe inside his 22. First kick for touch. Not the greatest kick in the world from Master Bowe, but he'll be happy enough with it because he's taken play to outside the Ulster 10-metre line. Tommy Bowe now with one more cap to go to reach the half century for Ireland, and another 4 after this to reach the century for Ulster. Dragons line out didn't look altogether straight. Jonathan Evans going to bring in Tuolangi into Pinar, and Rory Best, who came straight off the back of that line out. Evans trying to set up one of his driving forwards. Good tackle by Nick Williams. Evans again taken on by Nathan Buck. Dragons scrum half, nearly through a gap which was well closed by Ian Henderson. Dragons going forward though. This is good driving stuff by Owen Evans. Jonathan Evans. Robbling, Priddy. Tackled by Trimble, well released. Adam Jones, Nathan Buck at pace, good angle by the prop. Better stuff by the Dragons. They'll be looking for, at the very least, a penalty from this. Good, jinky little run by Jonathan Evans. No scrum half, they'll have to drive it. And they do through Falatau, who's well tackled. But they've got themselves within 15 metres of the Ulster line, probably even 10 metres of the Ulster line. And they advance further. Sixth face now from the Dragons, still hanging on to the ball. Referee Peter Fitzgibbon having a good look. Here come the Dragons again, Robbling to Tuolangi. They've given him a fair bit of room. Good work by Paddy Jackson. Or Paddy Wallace, I should say. Paddy Jackson will be on the bench, no doubt admiring that, but it was his namesake who put the tackle in. Evans Taken on by Tom Brown. Ulster get out of the way. Henderson moves. Faletau, good Dragons pressure. Good Ulster defence. Can they both keep it up? 12th phase now for the Dragons. Just to the left of the Ulster posts. Adam Jones into Lewis Stevenson. Chance now for the Dragons. Tuolangi. Tuolangi's great strength, great try. Dragons back in this game from that sort of range, like the other 5 of the 6 rugby playing brothers. 10 metres out, impossible to stop. Terrific score by the Dragons.
Well, the Dragons certainly won't be charged with over-elaboration, but what they did very effectively. It was one-off runners either side of the ruck, a little bit of sniping by the halfback, and then once they got within that sort of range, bringing Tuolangi up that channel is always going to be a very difficult prospect. But it was the quality of the lead-up work that created that field position for the rampaging Tuolangi to go over.
A wee bit of an assist by Adam Hughes in that, I think, if you watch carefully. Just kept Rory Best out of it now. A lot of people may have considered there was a bit of a block on there, stopping Rory Best making the tackle. But the try was given, and the try has been subsequently converted by Tom Pridey. And the Dragons, now having been 6-7 down, are now 13-7 up. Was there obstruction here?
There's certainly an obstruction for Rory Best being able to affect the tackle, but it was the directness of the Dragons' approach for that 6 or 7 phases that led up to it. Doing the basics very well with high precision and at high tempo.
Good restart kick into the arms of Faletau, who evades the first Ulsterman. Ulster have pushed the Dragons back inside their 22, so the home side can kick directly into touch. Marshall very close to being offside. We half check. And that's another good clearing kick by the Dragons, who are doing most things pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty basic stuff, but they're executing, and that's the key. Paul Marshall, interesting tactic he used when he goes to charge those kicks. He uses that anticipation, runs back about 5 metres and gets that flying start. So it's always going to look suspect, but generally he's just behind those feet when the ball is passed.
Well, Ulster inside the Dragons 22 for the first time in about 10 minutes or so. Well, he did a little bit of a check, and I think when the ball was passed, he was still in an onside position. Rory Best into a full 7-man Ulster line-out, taken by Tui at the front. Ball has gone down. Ulster trying to get that forward drive on again, and the referee's happy with that. This is better by the Ulster pack. Here they go again. This is good work. Good defence by Toli Faletau on Rory Best. Ulster being shunted towards the far touchline. If it goes into touch, if they're in possession, then the Dragons will get the line out, but they won't care because they've actually got the turnover. And that's another fundamental error by this Ulster side, in such a good position as well. Evans gets it away, and Ulster will have another bite at the cherry, so to speak, but that might well have yielded a try.
Yeah, also just struggling a little bit to convert that territorial advantage and that pressure they're building in the opposition 22 into points. Some excellent work by Toby Faletau on that occasion to infiltrate that maul, which looked pretty well set up by Ulster. Another opportunity to set that structure again.
Nick Williams remains in the line-out. In fact, he's actually out of the line-out. Chris Henry's taken up a position in the middle of the park for Ulster. Rory Best throwing into a 6-man line-up. Paul Marshall is at the front. I can't for a moment imagine that he's going to jump, and he doesn't. That's well taken. Here's Marshall. Here's Williams. Will Harris holds on to one massive leg. And here come Ulster again. Much better position. Options on both sides. Route 1 for the Dragons line. The post within almost touching distance. Here goes Williams. So strong. He dives. Has he got there? He has. Well, he is unstoppable. He may not have the pace of Tuolangi, but give him a sniff of the line and he's just as effective. And Nick Williams gets his 3rd league try of the season.
Yeah, he's been doing it all season. You can be sure the Dragons would have seen that on their analysis and stressed the importance of that pillar player taking him to ground early. Once he gets in that upright position, he gets the ball away from contact, and just that immense strength, the upper body strength he possesses to shrug players away. Ball in one hand, he reaches out over the line for Ulster.
Juan Pinar pops over the conversion, his second conversion. Ulster back in the lead again. There's only a point between them, though. But 7.5 minutes to the interval, and it's the Dragons 13 and Ulster 14.
It certainly hasn't, given the weather conditions and the abilities of certainly the Ulster team, we thought we may have seen a game played with a bit more adventure, with a bit more width. But Ulster just haven't been able to go through the phases, but they've been effective enough in scoring those 2 tries.
Trimble gathers, changes direction, gets away just about inside to Williams, who does get away. Oh, one-handed piece of wonder by Williams. Ian Henderson, not the greatest pass in the world. He had to take it shoulder height. Adam Hughes wearing the head guard, takes it up, comes back on the Ulster side, and the referee said that there was an Ulster knock forward, and it will be a scrum to the Dragons. Bit of enterprise from the kickoff, and Andrew Trimble has been doing some pretty impressive stuff in receipt of those restarts.
Yeah, he's looked very dangerous all night, performing the basics of receiving that kick particularly well, and then using that speed to get him into good positions and making good decisions on the ball to keep that ball alive. And Ulster, we've seen those sparks where Ulster have looked dangerous, and they've managed to convert a couple of opportunities. Probably a higher error count than they would like, but they'll certainly be happy to see that scoreline reading 14-13.
Just saw Nick Williams rubbing the left-hand side of his chest, which was the place that he got injured, and there's a penalty against the Ulster front row, and I think against Declan Fitzpatrick.
3, hitting down on an angle. Stay up,
Peter Fitzgibbon saying number 3, hitting down at an angle, and that's a penalty chance, and I'm pretty sure, and the answer is yes, that Tom Priddy will go for the Ulster post to recapture the lead for the Dragons. So that's a 4th penalty against Ulster this evening.
And the Dragons certainly showing a lot of enthusiasm tonight. They look good when they've got the ball close to the breakdown area. A little bit one out, but they're doing it at such pace that they're getting across the advantage line. Excellent ball security, and as they recycle that ball quickly, they're running into defence that is still reorganising. That tactics work particularly well for them this evening.
Just about the same place as the first one. That's not a bad strike, and he has pushed that right over the Ulster post. I thought for a second it was going to drift to the right, but it held its course, and that's another excellent strike from long range by the Dragons fullback, and the home side back in the lead again, 16-14 with 5 minutes to go to the interval.
And you look at how both teams have accumulated those points. The Dragons have certainly gone through one passage of play to score a very good try, but they've accumulated through penalties from Ulster their other points.
Faletau takes, makes good ground, well held up by Lewis Stevenson. Faletau sensibly goes to ground to make it available outside the 22, so we can expect a kick from Jonathan Evans. Oh, he's pulled it in field. Now it's a good bit of chasing by Harris, well taken by Craig Gilroy. Waited a long time to get a start for Ulster. Marshall thought about the narrow side, still thinking about the narrow side, on his own a little bit. Declan Fitzpatrick picks up, good offload, well taken on by Henderson. Gets across that 10-metre line. Now Marshall, better stuff from Ulster. Paddy Wallace, lovely transfer. Tommy Bowe, well taken by Shavanga. Marshall again, Pienaar in the right position. Williams steps and drives. Marshall, now this is a bit better from Ulster. Here's Pienaar. Lovely little show of the ball. Maybe the kick wasn't the right option, but he's charged it down. Pienaar, and he scored! Well, it was the right option after all. Well, Pienaar can do just about everything. The kick was clever. The receiver was under pressure. He was there to charge it down, and he was there to nab what is Ulster's 3rd try of this first half.
They'll be absolutely delighted with that. It was the hard work he did early on. He throws the pass, then he works hard to get around the corner to get in a position to receive the second pass from Marshall. Then the overlaps created. That forces a slow drift from the Dragons. Pressure on Priddy for the clearance, and the ball could have gone anywhere. It went into the hands of Ruan Pienaar. Ulster will be delighted to have 3 tries prior to half-time.
Well, what a seesaw game of rugby we're having here at Rodney Parade. Not the happiest of hunting grounds for Ulster in the past, but that's a 3rd try. And bonus points in Wales are hard to come by. A long way to go. Right side of the field for the very first time in his kicking duties for Ulster's outside half for this evening. And he hasn't made that one either. Well, if he keeps scoring tries like that, we may forgive him his frailties in terms of goal kicking. But a couple of minutes and a bit more to go to half-time, and Ulster leading the Dragons by 3 points.
You sort of get the feel that the Dragons are playing close to maximum efficiency. Well, Ulster still have a lot more to give, but even given that, they're still leading this game at 19-16. I'll be delighted by the fact that they've got 3 tries already prior to halftime. Bodes well if they can go on to get the victory. That it'll be worth 5, not 4.
Well, we keep picking out Andrew Trimble, who keeps picking out Nick Williams, who picks out the nearest couple of black shirts to drive into Marshall. Tui ducks down. Trimble legging it down this near touchline. Good covering by Falatau. Brushes off the first tackle. He is such a strong youngster. Ulster come driving through. Don't want to give away any more penalties, because Priddy has shown that he can really belt them from the halfway line. Jonathan Evans taken on by his second row forward, Adam Jones. Stolen by Ulster. Marshall into a wee bit of space. Craig Gilroy puts the foot on the gas. Priddy, a little bit of blocking there, but Priddy gets it away, and Ulster have the line out, and there's time for Ulster to create something just before the interval.
A real try-scoring opportunity. Only a couple of minutes left on the clock, but Ulster in the part of the pitch you'd like to be, to have one last crack at adding some further points prior to half-time.
Pretty decent Ulster support here. Not a full house at Rodney Parade by any means.
6, okay, 6. 5.
Rory Best is fourth start of this season for Ulster. Williams out of the line-out, taken by Tui, just smuggles it down. Ulster holding the ball in.
That's once.
And they will have to play it, and they do play it. Marshall, nicely done by Gilroy. Across the 22, now there's a chance if Ulster can move this wide. Best in the outside half position. Runs back into the waiting white-shirted support. And Ulster give away the penalty yet again. That's another one given away. And again in a very, very good position.
It's arriving on his feet.
Rory Best, according to the referee, not releasing the ball in the tackle.
Okay, pay attention.
Got himself hurt in the tackle as well, it seems. Well, there was a bit of a collision, and Rory Best head clashed heads with Owen Evans, the Dragons' loose head prop. Well, a lot of the medical attendants coming on. David Irwin straight on, having a look at Rory Best, and one hopes there's nothing too serious with Rory Best. The clock has stopped with less than a minute to go. Ulster have made heavy weather of it in this opening half. Headgear came off in the tackle. Maybe they just took it off to have a look at him. Is he going to leave the field? Do you know, I think he is. He's obviously got a bit of a bang, and Rory Best will know better than anyone that he's in a wee bit of trouble. Now, there's not that much to go to half-time, so maybe he's just wandering back. And no, he's not leaving the field. I'm glad to say he's not leaving the field, and he'll get a nice little break, and they'll have a look at that injury and try to do something about it. And needless to say, they've got a pretty decent man on the bench in the form of another man with more than 100 Ulster caps, Nigel Brady. In the meantime, following the penalty, the Dragons have cleared their line, and they'll have to throw to the line-out. And don't think there's going to be much more action in this pretty busy and highly entertaining first half. Toing and froing, as we said. Ulster going for the steal, not too far away. There was nothing wrong with that. Well, the referee thought there was. I thought Ulster challenged for the ball, but a bit of pulling down on the Dragons jersey by Ulster. And Lewis Stevenson, I think the man's going to be spoken to by the referee for dangerous play.
I know you've contested for the ball, but try not to pull him down on the way down, okay?
Good sense for refereeing by Peter Fitzgibbon. The penalty, yes, but didn't warrant a yellow card. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, very accurate in his assessment as well. It was a very good compete for the ball, and then just felt that on the way down maybe grabbed hold of the player, and this kick should kill off the first half.
What's left, please, Neil?
Referee is asking the TMO, Neil Ballard, what's left. There's only about 12 seconds left. Now, there will be time for the Dragons to take this line out. And all of a sudden, you suddenly think, well, if they can get something out of it, even if it's a penalty, they could turn around in level terms, even though they're 3 tries to 1 behind. So still a chance for the Dragons. They're going to take something, and they have done it. That's nicely done by the veteran Rob Sadoli in the middle of the line out. Dragons will drive and try to set up a decent field position and try to squeeze something out of the referee if they can. That's good work by the Dragons pack. Ulster need more men in behind the driving ball carrier. Still there for the Dragons. Haven't heard the referee say use it. Yes, now he says so. They have to use it. And they've got 5 seconds and they are using it. Well, Rory Best has done a great job of holding up the Dragons outside half. Lewis Roebling. Oh, great work by Rory Best. After taking an awfully hard knock, that really should be half time. No time for the scrum, and Ulster will be the happier of the two, despite a lot of errors and despite the concession of penalties, most of which have been punished by the Dragons full-back Tom Preddy. Ulster will be pretty happy with the way the opening 40 minutes have gone, Ryan.
Yeah, it's a far from perfect performance. I'm sure they'll admit that. A few more penalties than they would have liked, and a little bit of lack of composure at times, but you can't argue with that scoreline and the fact that Ulster have scored 3 tries. If a few more kicks went over, it would have looked even more comfortable. Away to the Dragons to have 3 tries and to be in the lead at half-time, they'll certainly be comfortable with where this game is at present.
And in terms of using the bench, thoughts on that?
Well, they've got the players that can make an impact. Plenty of experience there that I'm sure we'll see at some point. I think the players will, the coaches will look for the first 20 minutes, assess how the game's going, and then make some decisions on the run.
Only 3 points between them, but Ulster leading by 3 tries to 1. What the scoreboard said at half-time here at Rodney Parade is the Dragons 16 and Ulster 19.
Well, the Dragons have been Ulster's bogey team in recent seasons and certainly causing them plenty of problems.
Change in the Ulster personnel. Rory Best has indeed decided not to come out for the second half. We don't think the injury is too serious, but every precaution, needless to say, is being taken. Nigel Brady is on for Ulster, and Ruan Pienaar, who scored one of Ulster's 3 first-half tries, gets the second half off to an entertaining start, no doubt. Toby Faletau, always entertaining, sets it up, and Ulster get a penalty straight away. And this is a reversal of the first half, and it's the skipper from the Dragons, the 35-year-old Steve Jones, who got his first Welsh cap way back in 2001, gives away a penalty which should be within the range of Ruan Pienaar.
Yeah, perfect opportunity for Ulster early on, get some points on the board, keep some momentum going in terms of the scoring sequence for them, and they'll be conscious that they'll need to cut out some of those little errors in the first half, but they'll certainly feel they've got the measure of this very spirited Dragons side.
Good restart kick by Ulster and by Pienaar. Good contesting of the ball at the breakdown by the Ulster forwards. And referee Peter Fitzgibbon has given Ulster and Ruan Pienaar this chance to stretch the lead. 3 out of 6 in the first half from Pienaar. Bit of ill-natured booing and whistling. That's a better strike from the talented Springbok, and the flags go up, and that's the perfect start to the second half for Ulster. And they now go out to a 6-point lead, just about a minute and a half of the second half played. 22-16 now to the visitors.
Yeah, and I'm sure Ulster will be very hungry for some possession to go through those phases. Try and get some of those patterns onto the game that have been so successful in the early season.
Paul Marshall doesn't find touch, but mightn't work out too badly. Faletau inside to Pretty. Now to Will Harris, the 7 specialist. Underneath it is Pienaar. Well taken. He's got Williams with him, but he opts for a clever positional kick now. Will it carry too far? If it does, it's going to come back for a scrum, and that's just about perfect. The Dragons will have to put it down for the 22, and Ulster will receive. Sometimes you can overdo those things, but it all depends on the bounce of the ball and the state of the grass and dear knows what else.
And I'm sure Ruan Pienaar took all of those into consideration.
Of course he did.
It's one of the aspects that allows him to transition between 9 and 10 so well, as his ability to kick out of hand, his tactical awareness of where the space is, and exhibiting that again tonight.
Marshall gathers again. Now it's Trimble. Bow on a great line. Fabulous line by Bow, and he's still there. Back to Trimble. What a great combination between the two Irish internationals. Penalty against Ulster, and all that good work and interplay between Bow and Trimble wasted. Somebody coming in, side entry, and the penalty given away, and the ball back with the Dragons. But that was thrilling.
Yeah, well, that's the threat Ulster possess in the back three, and Gilroy yet to be unleashed with a bit of time and space as well. Andrew Trimble having a particularly good game and combining very well with Tommy Bow, who showed why at 15 he can be so dangerous in taking those lines off that lateral run.
Well, he straightened beautifully. He looked as if he was going to go on a wide arc, and then he straightened. And Trimble's support work was exemplary. And then somebody in white came in from the side.
Yeah, Darren Cave running a lovely angle there as well, just unable to get the ball in his hands, unfortunately.
First line-out steal of the evening, and it goes to Ulster. It'll tap at the back by Henderson. Lewis Stevenson tidies it up. Marshall being well protected by his forwards. That must be offside, surely. Play on, says the referee. Nick Williams leaves it for Chris Henry, who'll take it forward. Gets shunted back into his own half, but makes a good secondary charge. Marshall back in position. It's Ian Henderson takes it on. Well, look at the strength of this young man. What a terrific piece of running by Ian Henderson, taking on dragon after dragon. And nudged forward right at the end. So just those final wee touches eluding Ulster, but well, it was a great run by young Henderson.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Fighting very hard to get on his feet, allow the Ulster players to get in behind him and drive him forward, and then, unfortunately for Ulster, just turning over possession at the crucial time. A pattern that's been throughout this game, and one I'm sure that's frustrating Ulster. They're on the verge of everything coming together again, pattern-wise, and when they do, you can see the strike power across the pitch that they possess.
Nick Cudd has come on the field for the Dragons. Toby Faletau is the man who's gone off. Nick Cudd, normally an open side flanker. So it looks as if Tom Brown is going to go into the number 8 position. There's nothing too seriously wrong with Toby Faletau. He may just have turned an ankle, but with a busy autumn international season coming up, the Welsh management will not be happy with that. That's a good squeeze by Ulster at the scrum. Dragons forced to kick, and that's not a bad effort. Bow. Plenty of time.
Stay out wide, stand.
Not a bad kick by Tommy Bow, drafted into full back, and I honestly can't remember how many years it is since Tommy Bow played full back for Ulster, never mind anybody else. Faletau with ice on straight away, incidentally.
Yeah, back three players should possess the ability to move across that back three. Similar skill set required across the wing and full back positions, and Tommy Bow making a pretty good fist of it tonight.
Dragons line out, bit of a delay. Referee will say get it in, and there's a free against the Dragons. You're not allowed to dummy the throw. You have to, once you start the throw, you can't stop and then do it again. And Ulster have the option of the line out, but they've gone for the scrummage.
Scrum.
Chris Henry has said scrum please sir. It's wonderful how in rugby the referee is always sir. In other sports less so.
Yeah, it's a sight seeing those 18-stone brutes dwarfing the referee, still showing him that respect that he deserves.
Behind his back, maybe a different matter, but to his face, nice as pie. Almost 6 minutes gone. 16 to the Dragons, 22 to Ulster. Messy old scrum. Tom Court on the Ulster loosehead side, the nearest to us, against Nathan Buck, who's a big lump of a fellow as well. He's even bigger than Tom Court, if possible, as a prop forward. And there's an injury to the man in the middle of the Dragons front row, their skipper for the evening, Steve Jones, playing his 123rd league game this evening. Great servant he's been for the Dragons down the years, and to Wales as well. Ulster, remember, leading by 3 tries to 1, only by 6 points, so a converted try would see the Dragons in the lead again.
And Neil Doak just taking the opportunity to get on the pitch. The backs in a huddle, no doubt be talking options from this scrum and seeing what move they can employ to break down this Dragons defence.
Ulster almost up to the Dragons' 10-metre line. Not much in the way of options on the blind side. This is Court packing down. Better scrum by Ulster. Marshall on the narrow side, cleverly done. There he goes. Good release. Here goes Trimble, looking for the bonus point try. Terrific piece of acceleration by Trimble. Cleverly done by Marshall. Henderson just stretched for it. Don't think he was meant to come in between Marshall and Pienaar. And it's been knocked forward by Ulster, but that was very nearly the bonus point try. And Andrew Trimble's 26th in this league competition.
And you could see Cave, Bow and Gilroy out here in the expanses with one player marking them, throwing their hands up in the air. Excellent break by Marshall. It's acceleration down the blind side that creates those opportunities. Good recycling of the ball, but unfortunately just a handling error leading to that turnover in possession and frustrating Ulster once again.
Well, Andrew Trimble putting up a hand for serious consideration for the autumn tests. Ireland playing the Springboks. Then a Wolfhounds team against the Fijians down in Thomond Park in Limerick, and then the crucial game against Argentina.
Scrum black ball.
And the reason it's crucial is because if Ireland lose that, they'll drop outside the top 8 in the world rankings, and that will affect their seedings for the next Rugby World Cup. A long way to go before then, though. Defensive scrum for the Dragons. Can Ulster put a squeeze on? They can right from the outset. That's a great piece of scrummaging by Ulster, and they forced the penalty, and Ulster all of a sudden have found a little bit more in the second half. There's a greater sense of urgency and purpose there, and a greater sense of teamwork as well.
I'm sure there's a little bit of a temptation being so close to go for the scrum again, and given that they're starting to dominate that aspect and see what they could get out of it. Right decision, 6 points can be extended to 9. That's the buffer they're looking for. First and foremost, it's about getting the win. Then with 3 tries already in the bank, they'll cast an eye to that bonus point.
So a good Ulster scrum, putting so much pressure. The scrum on their own ball was outstanding, and the scrum on the Dragons ball was even better. A lot of good work there by Tom Court. Dragons having to collapse the scrummage, and Ulster now get the penalty. And Pienaar now with 4 from 7. Bit to the right of the post. Good strike by Pienaar, and he has nailed another one, Ruan Pienaar. So 5 successful kicks from 8 attempts, but Ulster move on now to 25 points, and there's 9 points between them, and we've only played about 9 minutes in this second half.
Yeah, and Ulster will be looking at the bench. There's players there who've played a lot of rugby, like Afoa and Paddy Jackson, Jared Payne, but there's also players like Wilson that they'll be keen to get onto the park to get some game time.
Dragons 16, Ulster 25.
Yeah, here you go.
It was an interesting game up at Murrayfield. The lead changing hands several times, but the Clonefty Scarlets have scored another try through guess who, George North, and are now leading Edinburgh. So the Scarlets very much determined to hang on to that second place. At the moment, it's first place Ulster doing what they had to do. They haven't had a great lot of success here at Rodney Parade. That looked like a forward pass, but the referee says play on. Taken on by Tom Brown it was. Good tackle by Nick Williams on Big Adam Jones. Not a lot of room in the narrow side. Rob Sadoli, who's had a quietish evening. Jonathan Evans, Adam Jones again. Great work by Henderson, got the body in the right place and prevented the ball from coming back, but he's given away the penalty. Replacement prop is on for the Dragons, Nathan Williams wearing number 17. Referee still playing advantage to the Dragons, but none is going to come. And as Henderson gives away the penalty and Nick Williams is down injured, we may well see Roger Wilson come on. I'm sure he will at some stage. Williams still looks a bit tender around that chest area, as the Dragons have indicated that we are going to have a kick at goal.
Yeah, with 2 back rowers on the bench in McComish and Wilson, you suspect that Ulster won't take any chances with Williams. If he's showing some signs of a recurrence of that sternum rib injury, he'll be off straight away.
So here's Pretty with 11 points to his credit so far. Interesting position he puts the ball in. It's really like the old-fashioned torpedo kick where he points the ball towards the post instead of putting it upright. And as he shapes up the kick, we'll see that. And he struck that, and he has got it right between the Ulster posts. So the Dragons still very much in this game, and Ulster need once again to be cutting out the errors. We played about 11 minutes in the second half. The gap was closed. Only 6 points between them, 19 to the Dragons and 25 to Ulster.
Yeah, the Dragons really, you feel that they're playing at their maximum to stay in touch with this Ulster team that seem to be floating in and out of the game, but certainly doing enough to maintain that lead.
Got a saw glimpse of Roger Wilson warming up on the far side. Terrific tackle from the restart kick by Craig Gilroy and his opposite number Will Harries. Jonathan Evans shaping the kick down the line, almost blocked by Court. That's gone vertical. Great take by Chris Henry.
No, backwards.
Went backwards, says the referee. Marshall, now to Pinar. Paddy Wallace, haven't seen much of him. That's what he does best. Clever little feet by Paddy Wallace. Marshall, Henderson on the narrow side. Outrageous dummy by the youngster. Ball set up once again for Ulster. Now Pinar. Cleverly done. Trimble got it away well. Here's Wallace. There's an overlap here. Darren Cave. Knocked forward, was it? Chris Henry just tapped it on. Ulster still there. Crowd not happy with that. Referee's happy. And that's all that matters. Ulster 5 meters away. Dan Toohey. Solid in the tackle. Marshall looking for the narrow side. He goes to the narrow side. Wallace offloads to Nigel Brady, who steps in field to set it up for his scrum half Marshall. Declan Fitzpatrick. Good tackle by the Dragons skipper on the Ulster tight head. And they give away a penalty yet again.
Isolating man, release the ball.
Well, not releasing in the tackle. The error count, I'm sure Mark Anscombe would agree, is far too high.
Yeah, they'll be frustrated by that, but an excellent tackle on that occasion by the Dragons, and then getting players over the ball. Excellent technique. Got to give credit to the Dragons on that one.
Number eight change.
So Nick Williams is going off, and for the first time in about 4.5 years, Roger Wilson is going to come on. I'm just reliably informed that Edinburgh are now leading the Nephew Scarlets by 26 points to 19. So Roger Wilson, capped just once by Ireland, a sparse return for such a talent, comes on for his first Ulster game in 4 years. He's played over 100 games for Ulster. He's played over 100 games for the Northampton Saints. He will be simply relishing the prospect of getting back into a white jersey. Good clearance kick by the Dragons. Tommy Bowe back to Craig Gilroy as he spotted a wee bit of space. It's not a bad kick at all. Well covered back by the Dragons and Tom Brown. Pretty, the goal kicker. Trimble calls. Marshall leaves it. Well done by Trimble. Off he goes. Good pass. Here goes Lewis Stevenson. Looks remarkably like Ian Henderson, only slightly bigger, maybe not just as pacey. Pinar, well taken by Declan Fitzpatrick. Now no mistakes this time. He leaves it behind for Marshall. Now Pinar, cleverly done. Bowe, not cleverly done.
Yeah, just to build up again, a bit of a miscommunication. Looked as though Gilroy was taking a slightly shorter angle, and Tommy Bowe throwing the pass, expecting a slightly wider angle, causing the breakdown. Some interplay beforehand to try and hold the defence, and then that looked like a pass to the wider channel as Gilroy took an incisive angle. Just not used to the combination playing together, it looked like.
Yes, Tommy Bowe alone with his own private thoughts. I can imagine what he's saying to himself. The Dragons making a couple of changes. They're replacing their hooker and they're replacing a second row forward. So on comes the Sebastian Chabal lookalike, Big Ian Nimmo. He comes on for Adam Jones. Steve Jones is leaving the field, and Sam Parry has come on as hooker. And I think Jevon Groves is going to take over the captaincy.
Crouch! Touch! Set!
Dragons scrum. Ulster getting a squeeze on. What a good shunt by Ulster. Well tackled almost by Marshall. Henry makes up for it. Good forward drive by the Dragons. Ian Henderson very nearly stole that. Henry's got his body in the way. Taken on by Parry, the replacement hooker. This is Jonathan Evans. Good tackle by Brady. That looked forward. Play on, says the referee. It was forward. They'll have to come back. Tom Brown heading for glory. Support by the replacement Nick Cudd, but back they come for an Ulster scrum.
Same player must regather it.
It's got a bit scrappy and a bit messy the last 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, it has. It's not a game that has had much fluidity throughout the first 55 odd minutes, as we see Declan Fitzpatrick down, took a knock to the head there and is receiving some attention.
Well, it was a good piece of support played by the Dragons, an excellent piece of covering by the Ulster back row, and Brown thought he was destined for glory. Alas, he had to come back. Ulster still poised tantalisingly on 3 tries. They've outscored the Dragons by 3 tries to 1, but because of the better goal kicking by the Dragons, Toby Faletau is sitting this one out. Hope that ankle injury of his is not too serious. And there's only 6 points between them, and anything could happen. Declan Fitzpatrick, is he leaving the field? I don't think he wants to leave the field, but he is leaving the field. And on comes John Afoa. And also Luke Marshall is coming on as well, and Paddy Wallace is going off. So Ulster making a lot of changes, but then this was always going to happen. A lot of people getting a lot of decent game time. But this game, Ryan, is still not won.
The game's still in the balance. Ulster in the ascendancy, and you feel they're searching for that 4th try as well to make it a conclusive victory. But the Dragons have shown throughout this game they're a very spirited team. When they play close to the ruck and play a direct brand of football, they're difficult enough to contain.
Set.
Good solid Ulster scrum as you expected. John Afoe on the tight head side.
Stay on 9.
Roger Wilson controlling. That's a great piece of Ulster scrummaging. Paul Marshall thought about the quick kick, but it's the right side of the field for Ruan Pienaar to put Ulster into a decent field position.
Just time off. 7.
Chris Henry's been called over with a bit of a contretemps between the two open sides.
There's both of you are at it, okay? Don't pull him in, don't start striking him, okay? Both of you just be careful, okay? That's fair enough.
Again, that's
don't
good refereeing by
again,
Peter Fitzgibbon. No
Time
histrionics, no yellow cards threatened. Just say, come on, guys, behave yourselves. Pienaar needs that defined touch. Oh, that's a cracking kick by Ruan Pienaar. That's the best kick out of hand of the evening. Roger Wilson. Interesting little launch last night in Roger Wilson's former school, RBAI in Belfast. An excellent book written by the former master in charge of rugby, David Hazlett, about the history of rugby. And Roger Wilson, one of no fewer than 85 internationals produced by the school, following in the footsteps of his grandfather, Harry McKibben, and his 2 uncles, Harry Jr. and Alistair. Well taken at the back by Ulster. Tui, Marshall, cleverly done. Pienaar, nice sidestep. The Springbok close to the Dragons line. Quick ball is needed. Marshall gets it. Referee's having a good look. Dragons managing to slow it down. Ulster still have it in possession, but the ambush advantage is gone. They drive straight forward for the Dragons line, looking for that crucial bonus point try. Use it, says the referee. Ulster move it forward through John Afoa. Marshall. Darren Cave stretches and scores. Bonus point time for Ulster. Darren Cave gets in his 16th league try, and Ulster have got the all-important bonus point.
You feel that should be enough to take the game away from the Dragons. Some close quarter recycling, and then when Darren Cave gets the ball in his hands, he's always difficult to stop. Generally beats the first man. A little bit of a hint of a dummy, saw the space, a little bit of a mismatch, and certainly capitalised on that.
Well, we're still in the 3rd quarter. Darren Cave did extremely well. One of 10 Ulstermen on the Irish panel for the November test. Close to the line. Very positive by Darren Cave. So Ruan Pienaar has got 15 points already by my reckoning. There might be another Ulster replacement coming on at some stage. Well, more of that in a second. Tom Court is going off. I think Callum Black's on. Here's Pienaar as he pulled that one in. Oh, what a good kick by Pienaar from a difficult angle. So Ulster now just stretching the lead. 13 points to the good. Dragons 19, Ulster 32.
There's still 21 minutes left in this game, but Ulster now know all they need to do is close this one out, get those 5 points back to Ulster and sitting high atop of that Rabo Direct Pro 12 table.
Callum Black is indeed on, so Ulster replaced both prop forwards. Set up by Ulster outside the 22. Referee calls use it. Marshall kicks, and he's judged that yet again to perfection. Well taken by Shavanga, who's been well policed. What a lift by Ian Henderson. Took two Dragons players back inside their own half. Dragons with a bit of an overlap here if they can manage to do it. Here's Harries back inside, taken by Cave, and then by Dan Toohey. Jonathan Evans. Replacement Nathan Williams. Evans again. Dragons try score to Olangi. That's just a measure of how strong he is. Bounces off a couple of Ulster defenders. Oh, interception by Trimble. This could be try number 5. Well, it's Ulster's night yet again in Wales. Trimble puts it down. The 5th Ulster try. And I'm not sure that we should be going home now. But I tell you, we'll be looking forward to the journey home.
Yeah, outstanding reading. There was a slight overlap that had developed from the Dragons. Andrew Trimble realised that, came up to effect the tackle, and in the process of doing that put himself in perfect position to seize that try, and the one-handed grab plucked it out of the air, and obviously had the pace to go all the way. An outstanding game from Andrew Trimble, and capped it nicely with a try.
Well, it was one of those things, if it works, you're a hero. If you make a mess of it, you're a complete idiot. But Andrew Trimble, in this case, more often than not, as he has been down the years, was a hero. And the conversion has been well and truly added. And Ulster now 20 points to the good and 5 tries to 1 up.
Yeah, Ulster had threatened throughout this game to unleash, and they'd been accumulating tries throughout that first half. Wasn't a flawless performance, but the points are certainly coming their way now. And at 19 points to 39, the game is well in the bag, and Ulster can play now with a little bit more freedom.
Trimble gets it away now to Wilson. That's what he did for Ulster for years, and the Northampton Saints for 4 seasons. Pienaar was inside the 22. All the way down, Tom Pretty gathers. He may have to kick, and he does kick. Took that long. Pienaar leaves it. I don't think he meant to leave it. Tommy Bowe stepped back inside. Change of mind and direction. And a great pass by Tommy yet again. Now, was it originally passed back inside? It was indeed. So they'll take the scrum where Andrew Trimble kicked the ball. The highlight for me this evening so far is that our travelling engineering manager Jim Devlin has just brought me a lovely cup of tea. Did he bring you one?
Certainly did, and there's been enough rugby to warm the soul from Ulster when they've got it right. A miscommunication there from the kick-off, from the high ball. No one really claiming it as it went into the air, and then compounding that error, and Ulster now find themselves
Number 6
in defence.
Number 6.
Ian Henderson is going off for Ulster, and that would mean Mike McComish is going to come on. Ian Henderson has had another very good game. Dragons have brought on a replacement, Stephen Jones, number 22, who will slot into the outside half position. Dragons line out, well taken by great Welsh servant Rob Sidoli, more than 40 caps for his country.
To tackle, going forward, scrum.
And Ulster have forced the scrummage.
Just a tackle, yeah. So they're going forward, scrum.
And the Dragons just unable to contain this star-studded Ulster team as the game wore on. They battled bravely, and certainly their intensity in the first half kept them within reach, but once Ulster's individual ability eventually got brought to bear on the Dragons, and particularly on the scoreboard, looking a fairly forlorn hope for them in the remaining 20-odd minutes.
Better Dragons scrum, bit of a fumble at the base with Jonathan Evans, has a little go himself, very close to it. Here's Cudd. What a thumping tackle that was in the middle of the park by Ulster, and surprise, surprise, Andrew Trimble. The Dragons still attacking that Ulster line with gusto. Jonathan Evans, Rob Sidoli, pushed across the field, options on either side. Taken on again by the Dragons. Replacement hooker Sam Parry. Quicker ball now. Nick Cudd, the replacement flanker. Good tackle by Darren Cave initially. Jonathan Evans. Luke Marshall came flying up, but Ulster got themselves offside. 3 points no good to the Dragons here, I'm pretty sure. Will they go for the scrummage? No, they go for the tap. There's the tap by Evans. Runs into Mike McComish. First thing the replacement does is to tackle the scrum half, who's in the middle of all that, so no scrum half for the Dragons. They're still right on that Ulster line, give or take 5 metres. Nimmo goes in with the flowing locks. Here he goes. Good drive, but he's well tackled again by Ulster. Lewis Stevenson getting himself involved in just about everything. Here come the Dragons again. Cudd at scrum half. Has a little go himself. Just a couple of metres from the Ulster line. Great Ulster defence.
On the floor, yeah, on the floor.
Ball was on the floor. The ruck had formed. The Dragons going forward. They'll get the put into the scrum, which will not bother Ulster too much, I have a feeling.
No, Ulster have been dominant in the scrum in the latter half of this game, and an opportunity now to show their defensive mettle. Difficult when you shoot out to a scoreline like that to keep the intensity in your effort, but the Dragons certainly playing for some pride, and see some excellent passing out of contact. And there's that shuddering hit from Andrew Trimble. At least once or twice in every match he puts in one of those bone crunches, and not missing his man on that occasion.
Ulster making a couple of changes now. Jared Payne is coming on. Paddy Jackson is coming on. Jared Payne may well go to full back to allow Tommy Bowe on the wing, or Jared Payne may play outside centre, which is where he has played with distinction for the Auction Blues. And Ruan Pinar will move to scrum half, and Paddy Jackson will move to outside half. So everybody getting a decent little bit of game time, which is what Mark Anscombe wants to do, and that's been his philosophy from the start of this season.
Yeah, surprised they've made the last of those changes, bringing on 2 players in Paddy Jackson and Jared Payne, who played a huge amount of rugby this year, and substituting Paul Marshall, who I'm sure was relishing the last 15 minutes.
Well, terrific Ulster scrum on the Dragons put in. Dragons still in possession, though. Good work by Chris Henry, trying to hold up the Dragons ball carrier. Referee calling for White, i.e. Ulster, to release the ball, which they do, but it's slow ball for the Dragons. Cudd waits, it's gone wide to Olangi. Wonderful tackling by the Ulster midfield. Here come the Dragons again. It's Nimmo. Set up by the home side. Nathan Buck takes it on. Mike McComish again. Solid in defence. Again, the Dragons trying to set this up. And again, Ulster slowing it down. Parry and Nimmo, the 2 replacements. Parry takes it on as Nimmo supports. Ulster working hard to effect a turnover.
Yeah, ball's up.
Still about 14 minutes of this game remaining. Dragons once again getting
Never a maul, just a tackle.
go forward, so it wasn't a maul. In other words, the ball wasn't off the ground. It's on the ground, it's a ruck, and the side going forward gets the put into the scrum. But again, Ulster scrum has been a lot better this evening.
And you have to praise the tenacity of the Ulster defence with such a scoreline on the board. Easy to start falling off those first up tackles, but the intensity still looks there in defence, and encouraging signs that they'll finish this game off.
Ulster with all 7 replacements on. Dragons have made a change themselves at scrum half. Liam Davis has come on. 5 Ulster tries here at Newport. And this could be the second time, or will be the second time this evening, or this season, that Ulster come away from Wales with a bonus point win, having failed to record a win of any kind last season. Lost all 4 here in the Principality.
Yeah, the squad depth Ulster have developed now looks to have put them in a position where they can certainly cope with any losses to injury and international call-ups, and they really had a very dominant start, some tough fixtures early on in the campaign, and they're now following through with that.
Well, what a scrum that was by Ulster, and it's back on the Ulster side. Well taken in. Here goes Lewis Stevenson. He's been shoved towards the touchline, but the big fellow's got the ball back. Pinard, scrum half. Paddy Jackson, lovely wide pass. John Afoa. Now that's the pass of an All Black. Here goes Jared Payne. Couldn't quite get it away. Play on, says the referee. Well, that was a little bit of over-egging of the pudding there on Ulster's part, but they'll come back for the scrum because of the Dragons knock on. What a wonderful pass by John Afoa. The makings of two great centres.
Yeah, very comfortable on the ball. He's got the pace in the wider channels, and nice little 2-on-1 created there. Some good defence by the Dragons to prevent Jared Payne getting that ball to Andrew Trimble. So you can see Paddy Jackson, he zinged that ball. Lovely pass, and then John Afoa so comfortable on the ball, puts it out in front of Jared Payne, inviting him onto the ball. He creates that 2-on-1, but then Shamanga just stepping in and nullifying the attack that was developing for Ulster.
12 minutes remaining, 20 points between them. Ulster 39-19, 5 tries to 1 up. Good shunt by Ulster on their own put in. Referee saying use it. And Ulster do use it. They take it down that narrow side. Now Pienaar, Paddy Jackson, Luke Marshall. Lovely pass. Trimble straightens Bow. Craig Gilroy outside him. Here is Gilroy. Little bit of a shuffle. Good support by Trimble. What a game Trimble is having. He's popping up just about everywhere. Well, Pienaar's knocked it forward. Little claim there might have been a Dragon's hand in it, but the ball was knocked forward by Rowan Pienaar, and the Dragons get the put into the scrum. And once again, you've got to say, Andrew Trimble's appetite for work, particularly this evening, has been outstanding.
You know, not even just the enthusiasm, but the execution to go with that enthusiasm. He's performed all the basics of win play particularly well, and ball receipts as we see this attack. Ulster going into the wider channels now. Excellent support again by Trimble. Goes to ground, good body position. Ball's recycled, and little hand there and mistake from Pienaar, but Andrew Trimble certainly pressing his claim for a starting spot in that Island team versus South Africa.
A very rare error in terms of handling by Rowan Pienaar. 11 minutes remaining. Penalty against the Ulster front row. John Afoa taking it straight down according to the referee. Number 18, the guilty number. This is Stephen Jones, the youngster who's come on as replacement outside half for the Dragons. Playing his 16th league game. He scored 4 tries. He's a prolific runner and try scorer. Sam Parry for the Dragons, well back. Liam Davis, Tuolangi. A lot of white shirts come drifting across, and they put that's well played by Ulster. What a great piece of defence. If they move this, it's an awful bit of passing. And Mike McCormick goes back, so they go back to the initial knock forward. Ulster didn't get any advantage from that, which is a pity, because quick ball there could have resulted in try number 6.
It's been a scrappy old game, a lot of handling errors, quite a few penalties, not much flow to it, but it's been entertaining in patches, and it's Ulster that are dominating in this second half as it becomes more broken the longer the game goes on.
Just down below us, the Dragons assistant coach Rob Appleyard's being interviewed for BBC Wales. I'm not exactly sure what he's saying, but I'm sure he's not going to be terribly happy. Ulster scrum. Now, is there a little narrow side sortie here because Bow and Trimble are out there, the two most capped Irish players on this Ulster side. Now that Rory Best has gone off, and dearie me, that's the second time in as many minutes as Rowan Pienaar has dropped the ball. How often have you seen him do that?
I think twice in the whole of last season. You can see the frustration etched on his face that he'd made those couple of errors, but certainly with a scoreline of 39-19 doesn't excuse them, but you can forgive him for maybe not being as focused maybe as the management would like.
Well, a lot of rugby still to be played this season. Remember, this is only Ulster's 6th game. They have another one at home to Edinburgh next week, and then they're away to Italy twice within a week, and then away to the Scarlets before the back-to-back Heineken games against the Northampton Saints, and then either side of Christmas, the small matter of Leinster at home and Munster away.
Ulster are developing such a margin at the top of that table that they're taking a lot of pressure off themselves in the latter half of the season. If they need to rest and rotate, if they drop a few fixtures, crucial that they achieve a home semi-final in this competition, given the start that they've had.
Last replacement coming on for the Dragons in the form of utility back Pat Leach, wearing number 23. Dragons line out, but 8 minutes remaining. It's a bit untidy. The scrum half, the replacement, Liam Davis, won't thank anybody for that. Stephen Jones. This is Pat Leach. Quicker ball now for the Dragons. Liam Davis looking for a runner. Finds one in the shape of Rob Sidoli.
Stay back.
Little dummy by Nathan Williams, the replacement prop. Look at Chris Henry. Wonderful work by Henry, trying to hold the ball up off the ground. At least he slowed it down. Nick Cudd has a go on his own. Well done by Lewis Stevenson of Ulster. Still there for the Dragons, but they're not really creating very much. And Ulster digging in and determined not to have their line crossed again. Sidoli coming more into it. Roger Wilson was in and out again very quickly. That's very loose. Good work by Ulster once again. Tom Pretty is well tackled. Liam Davis. Offload goes to Nimmo. Well pulled in by Mike McComish, who's having a great season back at Ulster. Well away by Paddy Jackson. Lovely handling. Jared Payne shows the ball. Beautiful by Payne. Kick nearly worked. Might still work. Craig Gilroy. Shavanga mustn't give him any room. In goes Pinar with the tackle. Liam Davis. Back to Stephen Jones. In fact, it was the replacement. So it's going to be an Ulster lineout. Is there one more try in this game for Ulster, Ryan Constable?
Well, certainly, given the rate they've been scoring at, they'll certainly back themselves to do it. We're just seeing evidence here of why this Ulster backline is so potent. It's the variety they have in the skill sets of the players that they have, that they can interchange positions. Once you get players that have that utility value, they move between positions. It just shows what a broad range of skill sets they have across that backline. Jared Payne will slot into 13, he can play 15. Tommy Bowe goes from wing to 15. So many options available for Ulster, depending on what move they call or what game they're playing.
You're bored at an angle and it's their ball. It's going to go against you. Okay.
There's Big Ian Nimmo, who was arrested for this game. Paddy Jackson just walks back. Rob Sidoli, who seems to have been around forever. 33, formerly of the Ospreys, Cardiff.
Time on. Yeah. Wait, black, set, go.
Referee just insisting that the Ospreys move up to the mark. They've got to leave a metre between themselves and Ulster. 5 men in the Ulster lineout. Target man Dan Toohey. Oh, beautiful throw by Brady. Now Pinar. Little flip into Gilroy. Ran into some heavy black traffic. Need the quick ball. Now they have it. Pinar, Paddy Jackson, beautifully done. Luke Marshall. Oh, sweet from Marshall. And again it went forward. I don't think it's over elaboration, but it's great to see Ulster actually try something. They're maybe not quite coming off, but that'll come.
Yeah, you can get away with it in a game like this against the Dragons when you've got that score line, and go for the speculative moves, try them out, see how they work. They created that slight overlap there. Correct option was taken then just as he went to affect the pass. Luke Marshall just being dragged down, and that affected the pass, but certainly difficult to be critical when the scoreline reads 39-19.
Good covering tackle by the Dragons replacement, Pat Leach. We're going to see another good Ulster scrum. And I'll tell you, Callum Black has been putting in some pretty good scrummaging performances this season. Here comes Hughes, well tackled by Luke Marshall, another young man on the Irish senior training squad. And again, it's very good Ulster defence on the narrow side. The Dragons not making any progress, and if they're forced into kick, it will allow Ulster to counter-attack. Referees calling use it, and they haven't used it. Now they do. Sidoli, Nimmo in support. Slow ball now for the Dragons.
Use it!
Again, they're encouraged to use it. Tom Brown, who's worked hard all evening, back on the Ulster side. Great steal, Toohey gets it away to Afoa. Paddy Jackson. Luke Marshall, lovely angle by Marshall. Still there for Ulster, great support play. Pinar, Jared Payne. Sweet pass, McComish. Nice offload by the flanker. Still there for Ulster, and they give away the penalty. Just hanging on for that extra second in the tackle.
Isolated man, release the ball.
Well, all this Ulster pressure surely might lead something or yield something. Poor kick gathered by Gilroy. Payne has a wee look at him. There is Payne. Oh, He was having a look at his options inside. Jared Payne and Ruan Pienaar will be looking at each other and counting all their fingers and saying to themselves, how do we do such fumbly stuff?
Yeah, in another game, the coaching staff would probably come down quite heavily on the number of errors and penalties, but you have to look at games in context. They'll certainly make point it out in the video review sessions, but the players will be aware that at this level of rugby, they'll need to improve those things in the tighter games to come.
Jared Payne, I think, just concentrating on where his feet were. He was wondering, was he in the field of play, and forgot about catching the ball. I think he's just about to be forgiven for that, given the overall performance this evening. What another devastating scrum by Ulster. Tom Brown picks up. Pienaar makes the first tackle. Dragons take it forward, still inside their own 10-metre line. 3 minutes to go, 20 points between them. Ulster with the bonus point in the bag. Dragons have dropped it. Here goes Paddy Jackson inside to Payne. Is he going to make it another try? He is, I think. Yes, he's got there. What a finish with a flourish by Jared Payne.
Yeah, put that one down to the defence. Excellent line speed from Ulster that created the error. And then Paddy Jackson assessing the options very quickly. Clever line taken by Jared Payne, and that's what leads to the try. But you look at this line speed from Ulster. Up very quickly, creating pressure. Turnover ball in the tackle, and then a clever little flick pass from Jackson, and Jared Payne having the ability to drag a player over the line, hold him off with that hand. Transfers the ball particularly well to deal with the oncoming defender and reaches over to score that try. Nice little sleight of hand by Paddy Jackson.
And Jared Payne showing what we all missed last year because of that awful Achilles tendon injury. Back to his very best, and a rueful smile. And Ruan Pienaar adds the extra points, and Ulster, well, if they weren't out of sight now, they're somewhere away past the horizon in terms of this game. It's the Dragons 19 and Ulster with 6 tries, now 46.
And if you blank the scoreboard and you look at the statistics after the game, you look at the errors and the penalties and all those things, you wouldn't guess a scoreline like that. It just shows how much class Ulster have got, how much quality they've got as individuals, that they can perform below par but win a game so comfortably.
Little nudge forward by Dan Toohey, who did well to reach for it. Here's Sidole, keeping going right to the end. Liam Davis, Nimmo. Great work by Lewis Stevenson. Look how he's held up his opposite number off the ground. That is a fabulous piece of defending by big Lewis Stevenson. It may result in Ulster getting the put into the scrum, and it certainly should. And they've gone all the way back for Dan Toohey's knock on. Well, they played a fair bit of advantage there, or Peter Fitzgibbon did. And we just about forgive him. Into the final minute, this may well be the last set piece of this game, and 3 tries to 1 up at the interval, only 3 points between them, but really in the second half the Dragons, apart from that one penalty, haven't had a look in.
No, you felt at half-time if Ulster applied themselves, they certainly had far too much quality for this Dragons team, and you know, it's a concern now, the gulf that is developing between these Irish provinces, and with the greatest respect, some of the other teams in this Pro 12 competition.
Touch.
Another good Ulster scrum. Liam Davis under all sorts of pressure. Better stuff on the narrow side by the Dragons. Stephen Jones took it forward. 80 minutes have elapsed, and Ulster have won in Wales for the 3rd successive time this season, without a doubt. Ball comes squirting out, kicked through by an Ulster foot. The magnificent Chris Henry right in the middle of all that. Good work by the industrious Callum Black. Ulster going to get the put into the scrum, but maybe the referee will blow the whistle. No, he's there. Is he going to say there's time for one more scrummage? Well, this may suit Ulster. No, he's changed his mind. We're not going to get an Ulster scrum, so we're not going to get a 7th Ulster try. But I think Mark Anscombe and everybody involved with Ulster Rugby will be more than happy with a 6-try bonus point win and a 20 or 46-19 final scoreline, Ryan.
Yeah, they'll be delighted with that scoreline. They'll be delighted they've got 5 points, delighted they're sitting atop of the Pro 12 table and really dominating this competition. There's aspects they'll look at during the week, but you can't fault Ulster for their try-scoring ability, and that's testament to the quality of the individual players Ulster have at their disposal.
Would have started the season 8 successive competitive victories on the bounce.
Yeah, you couldn't have imagined such a good start. You knew Ulster had recruited well. They'd added quality and depth to their play. This man, Jared Payne, who's come along and shown what a quality player is, and all looking good for Ulster at this point in the competition.